welcome back to my channel. This is Nana Chat. Let's talk remote interviewing. 5% of lawyers are black. Ground. It is okay for you to open up and swallow me now. I wanted to die. Is my padfolio. You see it? You see it? The judge was yelling, the prosecution was yelling, the defense was yelling, like everybody was yelling.
I started mine.
So this is going to be a bit of a short video because I already have a video on my page about being interviewed for a legal internship position, externship position, any type of position while you're in law school. So please go and watch that video if you have not watched that video, because the advice given there works in person as well as remotely. This video is going to be a little bit more about remote interviewing, and when I say remote interviewing I mean phone interviews and video interviews. If you want to go back and watch my old video, you can click right here. I'm gonna try and put it right here, or it's right here. I don't know which one it is, but it's above me right here. You can click that to go back and watch that video, and then come back and watch this one for a continuation of some tips and tricks for things that you can do to ace your interview. We know COVID-19 has happened. We've been inside for like a year, and even though it seems like we'll probably be in person again soon, I think that phone interviews and video interviews and stuff like that were used before, but they're going to be used, I think, at a higher rate now, especially because people have realized that it doesn't really have to be that difficult, right? Like, we can be interviewing over Zoom or Teams or GoToMeeting or just over a simple phone call with multiple rounds and stuff like that. So that's what this video is going to be more about. So let's jump straight into it. So the first thing that I want to say, some good advice that I've gotten since I have a little bit more experience with interviewing now, especially for legal internship and externship positions, is that you should definitely always think about 3 things, or write down 3 things that you want to get across in your interview. Now those 3 things are definitely going to be aspects about yourself, right? So for me, it's definitely my cultural sensitivity makes me stand out. My flexibility, so when I say flexibility, I mean time-wise, but also the fact that I don't mind doing things that are outside of my job description, right? So my flexibility. And another thing, I think what I usually try to get out is my work ethic, right? So that's the message that I want to get across, that I'm culturally sensitive, that I'm flexible, and that I work hard. So if those are the 3 things I want to get out in my interview, any question that they ask me, I can tailor towards those 3 things that I'm trying to get out. Or I can add those 3 things into my answers to show them that, yes, this is an example of how I'm culturally sensitive, and this is how I'm flexible, and this is how, you know, just to hammer those ideas home so they can remember you, remember what makes you unique, but also so that you can get your strengths across. The second thing I would say is to dress up. I know since we are home, we wear, you know, you wear the suit jacket and the professional shirt on top and the pajamas on the bottom, and that's fine if you can still be professional in those clothes. That's cool. I like to dress up anyways, you know, wear everything full, like even to the pants, because first of all, I have this like fear that they're gonna be like stand up and I'm gonna be in like pajama pants or like funky pants or shorts, and they're gonna be like, girl, no. So that's my first fear. But other than that, dressing up really helps me to feel very professional, and that carries through when I'm speaking to the interviewer. So I would say still get dressed up, still do your hair. Sometimes how you feel depends on how you look in that moment. So make sure you're professionally dressed. I think the third thing that I would say is prepare. There's a tendency for us to feel like just because something is online now or remote or it's just a phone interview or whatever, that we don't have to prepare as much as we would if it were an in-person interview, right? Because, you know, you can kind of have the screen with all your notes up on this side and the person talking to you on this side. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you don't actually know, like have a heart knowledge and an understanding of what you're trying to get across, and also a memory of the information that you looked up on the firm or company or whatever, then first of all, people can see you looking to the side to see what answers you've written down. But Also, you're not as confident when you're speaking. So they'll ask you a question and you go through that little shaky moment of, I kind of don't know the answer to this. Let me go look at my notes. And that all translates when you're speaking to your interviewer. Remember, first impressions matter a lot, whether that is in person or through Zoom or Google or whatever, or on the phone. So make sure you're dressed, you know your information, and you're confident. Okay, I think I'm on number 4 now. Yeah. So the fourth thing I would say, especially for phone interviews, is to smile. Smile as you're speaking to the person. When you're smiling, they can hear the smile in your voice. And I didn't really know that before, but it kind of does change the way that you speak. You do want to sound excited to be interviewing with them. Not too excited to the point where you're like annoying and overbearing, but excited enough that, you know, this is a position that you really want, so they can know that you really do strongly want to get this position, right? You have a strong interest in this position. So smile. Number 5, I would say, is to continue to be professional in your correspondence. So even though we obviously had to know how to be professional before COVID in our email correspondence with our possible interviewer, whoever's connected in that business or whatever, it's still really, really good to make sure that you're more professional now, right? Because obviously now there's going to be a lot more of back and forth with interviews or back and forth with phone calls, and at some point when it becomes normal to you, you might not be as professional as you would have been if you only sent 1 or 2 interviews. So just remember all the time to be professional in your correspondence with the individuals that you're interviewing with, or the individuals that are even setting up the interview. And that takes me to my next point, which is point number 6, I believe. Send a thank you email. Send a thank you email. So of course, I think I said this in my first video, that it's important to do that when you're having a face-to-face interview, but I think it's more important when you're having a remote interview, especially if it's a phone interview, right? Because usually when it's a phone interview, the person is not really seeing your face. Maybe they looked you up on LinkedIn or whatever, but we lose that personal, like, this is the human being I'm speaking to kind of feeling through a phone interview. And so if we're on constant phone interviews where the person doesn't know what we look like, what are we gonna do to make them remember who we are? Send a thank you email. In your thank you email, you should at least get 1 or 2 things, and this is what's good about a phone interview, is you can take notes during the interview. And I think in person it's okay to take notes as well. But you can take notes of what you talk about during the interview, and after, within 24 hours of the interview, you can write a nice little email. Thank you for your time and consideration. I really enjoyed our conversation about such and such and such and how it affects blah, blah, blah. This interview really solidified my interest in the position. Please let me know if you need any more information. Again, thank you for your time and consideration. Best regards, whoever you are, right? Just a nice little thank you email that details some of the things that you spoke about in the interview so that they can remember you, but also so that they know that it's a personal email and not a generic thank you note that you send to everybody. And not only would you be sending that to the person that interviewed you, but you can also send a thank you email to the person who's setting up all your interviews if that person is different from the one who interviewed you. Oh, and this next thing, I won't give it a number because it's important, but it's not like, make sure your background is clean. Like, you don't want to be in a video interview and you have like me, my room be messy sometimes, and before every interview I have to like make sure I do a nice clean sweep of what they're going to be seeing, because that also goes into people's impressions of you, even if you don't really think it's that important, or even if the person doesn't know it, their impression is kind of tainted because they see your dirty background. Like, don't have a dirty background, baby. Don't do that, boo, because you might be all that in a bag of chips and your room is not. And because of your dirty background, they kind of have a tainted memory of you or whatever. So make sure your background is clean, and also make sure you don't have people walking back and forth in the background. When you're interviewing for a position remotely, especially if that position is going to be remote, another thing that the people that are interviewing you are looking for is if your internet connection is stable. Everybody doesn't have the privilege of having a very stable internet connection, but if you do have that privilege and you know what can create an unstable connection in your house, or you know that if you stay in the basement and do the phone call it's going to be cutting in and out, make sure you go upstairs, right? To make sure that the phone connection doesn't cut in and out. For myself, my room is in the basement and I know that for phone calls it often cuts out. So I did my phone interviews in the car. You feel me? I was not trying to have it cutting out at all because I really wanted the position. So things like that, to make sure that your internet connection is stable, the phone isn't going to cut in and out. Make sure your laptop is charged, your phone is charged. You don't really know how long you're going to be there for that interview, so definitely do that. Along with making sure your internet connection is stable, your phone connection is stable, test your equipment. Make sure your video is working, right? If it's a video interview, make sure your video is working. Make sure your sound is working properly. Maybe if you can do a fake video conference from your laptop or your phone that you'll be using for your interview. You can do a fake call with somebody else and see if they can hear you properly, etc., etc. You want to do like kind of checks for all of those things so that you won't be thrown off just because of a technical difficulty, and you can properly perform in your interview. So another thing that you want to make sure you do on a phone or video interview is to make sure that you are there on time, right? So you either want to show up on time, as in like log on to whatever you need to use for the video conference, or be ready for the person that's going to call you at the exact time that they're going to call you. Sometimes for some interviews, the place that you're going to be interviewing in virtually is a room, right? So basically they set up a room and people, well, interviewees enter and exit as the time goes and comes. You kind of want to make sure that you're not going to enter in on somebody else's time. So even though you want to be prepared like 15, 10, 20, however many you feel comfortable with minutes before that, also make sure that you're not stepping in on somebody else's interview, because that's awkward, you feel me? So don't do that, but still make sure that you are on time. If you gotta log in, your time is at 1, log in at 12:59 and ask to join. You're still punctual even though it's virtual. Yeah, guys, I think that's all I have for you for today regarding interviewing remotely. Like I said, please go back and watch my other video about interviewing. Like I said, I'm going to put it up here. I'm also going to put the link down below in the description box. If anybody else has any really great remote interview advice, please drop that in the comment section below so we can all learn, get some gems, you feel me? And yeah, I really do appreciate you guys. We're here to grow together. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.